I've had many phases, many phases. So I had a huge classic rock phase, Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith, then Nirvana, and Black Sabbath and all these guys, right? And then I went into, I really sunk my teeth into hip hop. And that's one of the things that really shaped me, from the old school stuff, and then the whole Eminem wave that was coming around the 2000s, the 50 Cent, all the aftermath, that kind of stuff. So that's what really influenced the more urban influences in me. So when I was in college, I actually started DJing. I was in the UK. I was in the UK for a while. I started DJing, and I was DJing mostly at a lot of these black clubs, right? So most of my friends were from the UK black community.
Your start with Q. What is the interesting story behind using the Q word?
There's a seat for Shankar, Ehsan Loy, and then a seat for me, right? So when I sat down there, it was very scary. I played one note on the piano, the whole room vibrated. So eventually I just told him, I was like, just give me a little corner, man. Give me a little dark corner, that's where I'm the most comfortable. And that's actually how they gave me the nickname Kopcha. So my mom is super happy, man. My mom's very happy. She touch wood. She always hypes me up to everywhere she goes. People that don't want to know about me, they now know about me because of my mom. So I'm really grateful for that, man.
Pure FM dekh rahe hain, mera naam hai Elahee. This is Indie Beats, and today with me is one of the most interesting artists from the music fraternity. Started out from a commercial space, and now he has put his leg forward into the independent music space. Karan, thank you so much for sparing your valuable time. And this is going to be a conversation which is going to be really special, because the entire motive of getting artists inside the studio and have a word with them is to actually know from where they started, what inspired them, what were those small naughty nuances that they lived during their childhood, during their college days, when they were teenagers, and especially when they became like a big blown artist. So thank you so much for being here. We'll start off with the fact that, your name should start ideally from K. And my name starts with K, the original name. It's a made-up name that you all guys know. It's an artist name. Okay. Yours start with Q. What is the interesting story behind using the Q word?
I mean, there's nothing really too interesting about it. So I grew up in a bunch of different countries, right? And around the end of my high school, there was this character from One Tree Hill. It's this really corny sitcom. One Tree Hill is a great show, though. And there was a character called Q in that, as well as Q from James Bond. And I don't know, some girl from high school who started calling me that, and it just caught on. And yeah, the rest is history.
And this usually happens on the foreign lands, right? I mean, people have this cool way of taking your name. Because if you were growing up in Delhi NCR, probably you would have been called by your surname.
I mean, being called Q is always better than being called Karen, which is what I used to be called, and now Karen doesn't have the greatest association.
Yeah. And you have grown up in many different lands, and the kind of people that you meet is always different. The experience is different. They say that right after every 80 kilometers, the water changes, the land changes, the dialect changes. You have lived in different countries. You have been a part of so many cultures. What was different in terms of how the culture was, but in terms of music, how was it different for you to adapt?
That's a great question. So I spent my very early years in Indonesia, and Indonesia is a very interesting place because while it's a very different country, they actually have a lot of cultural roots from India, if you look into the history of it, right? So the weird thing is, when I was in Indonesia, I thought that maybe I wouldn't fit in, but they love Indians over there. In fact, they always know one movie which they call Kuchi Kuchi Hota Hai, which we fondly know as Kuchi Kuchi Hota Hai. So it wasn't as much of a culture shock when I moved there initially. Singapore was different. While it has a wide range of cultures, it's very Chinese dominated. But the one thing I always did was I always learned the language of the place and always immersed myself in the culture and the music. A lot of times by hanging out with the locals. So I think that, and then when I moved to the UK, same thing happened. So it kind of just infused a lot of different stuff in me, which kind of became a part of my identity. So, yeah.
And while stepping your foot in the Bollywood industry, a song came in 2018, and it became the song of the year. Apparently, it became like an anthem. It was played all across India, in clubs, in pubs, in every wedding, in every function. The song was Tareef. Starring Mr. Aditya Pratik Singh Sisodia, aka Bacha. I hope you know the name, the real name, because it seems to be like an address. And Bacha Bhai is a very close person to me, at least, because I've worked with him in a few of the projects while I was doing a bit of a freelancing bit. How was the experience with him? Because we have seen him, struggle from around 2007, and then he became a big star. And now he is one of the most celebrated artists in India and in the world. How was the experience?
So I mean, it was a very last minute addition to the song, if I'm being honest. So we had pretty much the song ready, and a week before we shot the song, we got a call from Z, and we were like, okay, who else can we get on this song? And his name came up, and it was like overnight, man. We had we got his vocals in, and then we were shooting the video literally a week later. So it was really fun, man. He brings his own flavor to it. He brought his rap section to the song as well. So it was a cool addition for sure.
And there is this one thing that I ask all the musicians. While I was growing up, I never had a choice of the kind of music that I had to consume or what I have to listen to, because I was growing up in a brown family. I had two elder brothers. I never got a choice. Each and everything that was pounded on me was done by my elder brothers. So I grew up listening to a lot of Led Zeppelins, a lot of Megadeth, a lot of Black Sabbath and Metallicas of the world. What were you tripping on to during your childhood?
I wasn't too far off from that, man. So I've had many phases, many phases. So I had a huge classic rock phase: Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith, then Nirvana, and Black Sabbath, and all these guys, right? And then I I really sunk my teeth into hip hop, and that's one of the things that really shaped me, from the old school stuff, and then the whole Eminem wave that was coming around the 2000s, the 50 Cent. All the aftermath, that kind of stuff. So that's what really influenced the more urban influences in me. And then after that, just everything, man. Like recently, I've been on this weird country music trip. I've never stepped foot in Nashville, Tennessee, but I love country music. So I always go through these phases. So yeah.
And who were the artists that you were taking inspirations from? Because there were the East Coast and then there were the West Coast, and I had a lot of battles with my friends who used to take sides, and I also had a side that I'll tell you later. But which side were you on?
I don't really think I was a coast guy, man. Like everything that was I'm not trying to get killed today. The West Coast obviously had that LA flavor, Tupac and stuff, and the East Coast had the whole Biggie flavor. And the Diddy flavor, so that had its own merit. But I don't know why they ever separated the two. It would have always been stronger together, which is what it is today. So yeah, I was on both sides.
And one of those iconic performances that a musician generally do is during his or her college days, and that's when a lot of people approach you. You get a lot of female attention. Did that happen to you as well when you were in college?
So when I was in college, I actually started DJing. I was in the UK. I was in the UK for a while. I started DJing, and I was DJing mostly at a lot of these black clubs, right? So most of my friends were from the UK black community. Yeah. So I definitely really immersed myself in that culture. I don't know about the female attention, man. I don't think I'm the one to say that.
You're quite humble.
but it was a great time, man. College was fun.
Coming back to the Bollywood space, I mean, you have worked with, the great pioneers of Indian music, Indian commercial music to be more precise. There was Shankar Ehsaan Loy, and then there was Pritam Da. Shankar Ehsaan Loy is somebody that I have grown up listening to, and one of my closest friend, whose name is Abhay, he plays saxophone for them. And the band's name is actually Revisit Project. And he shared me a lot of, experiences while they were on the US tour. How was your experience when you met them for the first time inside the studio? Because on the other hand, you were doing music with Badshah. The song became really popular. And then there were three geniuses inside a room. And you were one of those people who have actually heard them while you were growing up. How was the experience?
Surreal, man. Like, so obviously, like, 30 Foot came out 2018. I was working with Shankar S. and Lloyd 2013 to 2015 and a half, right? And then Pritham after that till about 2017. So different parts of my career, but it was surreal, man. I have only incredible things to say about them. They really, really, really supported me coming up. They had no reason to, give me work at that time. I'm eternally grateful that they did. But it's a crazy story how we actually met up. I was just, so I at the start, I just used to go from studio to studio, hoping I would meet somebody, right? And 9 out of 10 times it never happened. But this one time, I was at the studio called Purple Haze. And
Purple Haze,
Haze, yeah, exactly, man. So I was there, and I was there with some voiceover artist, and Shankar S. and Lloyd had come out. They were on their lunch break, and Ehsan's always been a very diet conscious guy. So Shankar and Lloyd were like, "Oh, we're gonna go eat our vada pavs in the lunchroom," and Ehsan was like, "I'm free because I'm on a diet. Lucky for me." So he just called me in the studio, and he was like, "Hey, like, what do you do?" I was like, "I'm a producer. I kind of like make some music." He's like, "Can you play us some stuff?" So I played him some stuff, and I didn't hear a word from them for the next 4 months. August 2013, I get a call from them, and they say, "Can you come to Yash Raj Studios? We're working on this film called Kill Dill." And 2 states at the same time. So I go in there, and I'm shivering, and there's a seat for Shankar, Ehsan, Loy, and then a seat for me, right? So when I sat down there, it was very scary. I played one note on the piano, the whole room vibrated. So eventually I just told him, I was like, just give me a little corner, man. Give me a little dark corner. That's where I'm the most comfortable. And that's actually how they gave me the nickname Kopcha.
Oh, that's wonderful. And how was the Pritham experience? Because my friends from the music fraternity always tell me this thing, that it warms the cockles of their heart whenever they meet Pritham Da, and how humble he is, and how he's kicked about working with new age musicians, because he's somebody who has been doing it for so many decades now, and now he wants the new crop to be taking over that flag, and they want that flag to be raised high. I mean, how was the experience with Pritham Da?
Absolutely, man. So one thing I always say is I'm equally grateful to both of them for giving me the opportunities they did that early in my career. But from Shankar S. and Lloyd, I learned how to make great music. From Pritham, I learned how to make a hit.
Oh,
Perfect.
perfect.
Because he's just got something, man. So I learned how to sort of structure songs, how to make it very palatable for a more mass audience. And he's definitely one guy who definitely keeps his ears to the streets, because he'll know some producer making beats on his laptop in, just like in the randomest parts of India, and he'll call him in and ask him to work on this massive Bollywood project, So he's incredible to work with. Crazy to work with, because I remember there was a time when we were doing about 6 films at the same time. And we were working on all these different albums, and there was days I didn't sleep for 2-3 days, just making this stuff. So it was crazy, very, very hectic, because he just, especially at that time, he was pretty much doing all the films at the same time, right? So very crazy, but learned so much from both of them.
For every 80s and the 90s kid, the era of the early 2000 was actually a boom when it came to indie music, because on the other hand, we had bands like Strings, we had band like Jal, and on the Indian side, we had some heavy rock and roll people, somebody like a Parikrama coming into the picture. Then we had Indian Ocean. That was the era of bands. The bands dominated, and suddenly that wave vanished, and suddenly it was dominated by Bollywood commercial music. You gave one of the world's biggest hit with Badshah. Did the life actually changed after that? Because ironically, when you do a Bollywood song, you get a lot of recognition because now you're all over the place. With indie music, there is going to be a niche audience. With Bollywood music, there is always going to be a massive audience who's going to consume your music in large numbers. So did your life change after that in some way or the other?
I mean, it did and it didn't, in the sense that it did that because it was one of those songs that I remember the day it came out, it was #1 everywhere.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that gradual curve. So it did in the sense that, and I'm very grateful for this, I didn't really have to introduce myself after that, which I really appreciated, because before that I was producing behind the scenes, right? So that's something that was great. And it opened up a lot of doors for me in terms of, eventually I signed with Sony, and I started releasing my own music through them as well. So it definitely opened those doors for me. But I don't think I would have wanted it to change me too much, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
And every time when we talk to somebody who is from the music space, They tell us the pros and cons of being an independent artist. They tell us the pros and cons of being a commercial artist. Was there a blur line for you, a thin blur line for you as well? Because now that you have entered into the field of being an independent music artist, has life really changed in that sense now that you have to do a lot of things all by yourself? Because when you're doing a commercial project, you have everyone around you. So it's like an army that is being built around you. Like there is going to be a beat producer, there is going to be somebody who's going to take care of all the post-production, and then there is going to be a composer, and ideally you will be a vocalist, and there are going to be instrumentalists. Did the life change in terms of the struggles entering into the field of independent
So,
music?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said yes, because I'm very fortunate to have a fabulous team working with me. Shout out Big Bad Wolf. I'm just very grateful to have them. So I had a lot of support actually transitioning from the label space to the independent space. So that's one aspect where I was really, really lucky. Apart from that, the thing I loved is that the creative freedom. When you're working with a major label, it's very similar to Bollywood in that they're trying to cater to the same masses, right? So your creative freedom is somewhat curtailed, but when you're independent, you can just do whatever you want. And that's something which, I've always really looked forward to being able to creatively express myself to.
And is the process of making music a little different when you're making it for a commercial Bollywood film, and now that you're making it for a non-film purpose? Because it's completely independent now. This is going to be like a single now, or otherwise it's going to be an EP or a mixtape. But now it's not for a Bollywood movie. So is the process of making music different?
So not really. When I was producing, for sure, because you're serving somebody else's vision, right? But I've never really been with films. I've never really been the kind of artist where it's like I'll work to a brief. I've just go in there with the songs I made in the last year and just play them a bunch of stuff and just they take one. So luckily, Tarifa is as much my sound as a Highway, as much as like a Parchaya now. So luckily, I've never really had to change that. I've never really had to change the way I'm working, and I've been able to stay true to sort of my artistic identity.
And now that Parchaya is out, it's the song that you have done in collaboration with Bilin. This song is on high rotate across radio stations and people can actually go on streaming music platforms and they can actually see the numbers. A commercial Bollywood artist coming into an indie space and still the numbers are high. It's a great feeling, right?
It is. It really is. Being able to transition from the label space to the independent space and have the numbers aren't something I try to get too hung up on, because those metrics will never be enough. But what I really love is the fact that I'm still able to reach an audience.
Yeah.
That's the most valuable thing. And the most gratifying thing is to hear people from random parts of the country, reach out and say, man, this sounds so fresh, this sounds so new. And more than that is that I can relate to this. Like, this tells my story. That's something I love.
Your parents would be really proud now that, and this is the best part about parents. They will always care for you, even though you are 10, even if you're 20, or even if you're 30 or more. Like, you'll still remain a kid for them, right? Every time when you see your parents, every time when you meet your parents, there is always going to be that one thing that they'll say, that we are there, you're doing a great job. Are parents satisfied and happy with the fact that somebody who was having a great career is suddenly taking a path which can be full of spikes, but now that he has full confidence, he knows what he is doing? Are parents happy? Are parents satisfied seeing you on good billboards and looking at your numbers and looking at your progress report?
Initially, when I was like, I want to do music, they were terrified. And they had every right to be. When I was a kid, my music sucked, man. Like, it was so bad. So they had every right to be afraid. But I think they realized that I didn't necessarily have a typical artistic mindset, in the sense that, I only care about the art. I'm in the music business, and the business part of it is equally as important as the music, So I think they knew that I appreciated that fact. So they knew that I was a little more realistic with my expectations and the way that I'm planning to maneuver through this. So my mom is super happy, man. My mom's very happy. She touch wood. She always hypes me up to everywhere she goes. People that don't want to know about me, they now know about me because of my mom. So I'm really grateful for that, man.
And you know what? Moms can be really candid with things. Whatever they say, I mean, it's hard hitting, and obviously they can be your harsh critic as well. What was that last criticism that you faced from your mother?
The last criticism I faced from my mom was when I was still a teenager, I was very scared to play her any of my music. And one time we were sharing a ride to my school. She was dropping me off, and I made some songs when I was like still a kid, and I played it to her, and she just listened to it on her earphones, and then she took like a 2-second break, and she's like, "Man, I gotta be honest with you. Your music stresses me out." And it hurt my soul really deep inside my soul, but that was the last time, man. I was like, okay, I got to step this up if I want the next response to be more favorable to me.
And before we wrap up this interview, one last thing that I really want to ask you is, what are those 2 to 3 points that you want to tell each and every budding artist out there in the world who are actually thinking of becoming a musician, but are a little underconfident and they don't know how to pursue music, or they are unable to find their ways? What are those 2 to 3 points that you really want to highlight?
So the first thing absolutely is always make music that you would want to hear yourself. You know, I made that mistake initially, but always make music that you would want to hear yourself. The second thing is to not be afraid to step away from what's worked before, because that's how you grow as an artist, right? And the third thing is to learn the business, man, because if you want to do it professionally, right? If you want to be a hobbyist, that's great, man, do your thing. But if you want to be part of the music business, you got to learn the business. So yeah, those 3 things.
Well, you spilled the beans. Thank you so much for sparing a wonderful time. I mean, these were one of those anecdotes that the ones that you actually shared were not actually available all over the internet, because, and you know, this is the best part about having a conversation with an artist, because we really want to know what is the story behind the artist that is not even available on the internet. You have spilled the beans about your life. This is something that is going to be really helpful for the people who love your music. This is going to be helpful for the people who are going to pursue music and who are budding artists. So thank you so much for sparing a wonderful time and, you know, being here. I wish you all the best. And now that the independent music race is on and you are a part of it, my bet is on you, man. And all the best. And we are looking forward to a lot more collaborations in the near future from your end. And every time your name is going to pop up, I'm going to show people your picture with me. And I'm going to flex this thing that, hey, I got a time with this man who doesn't start his name with K, who starts his name with Q. And it's pretty cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, man. Well, this was Indie Beats. All you gotta do is like, share, comment, and subscribe, and make sure that you know, you get to learn a lot of things from this interview, because apparently, if you really want to be a musician and if you want to know the story behind your favorite artist, this is the right place to do it. This is me, Ilahi, out.